Hey guys, it's your girl Andrea Ward, and this is Pain into Power podcast. And today's special guest, we have Jim Alexander, world-renowned, award-winning documentary photographer. Have him today in honor of celebrating Black History Month. Jim has years and years and decades of experience highlighting and capturing some of the most important moments in history, from the civil rights movements, from the jazz world and music and culture and the Black Lives Matter movements, and so much more, especially for women's rights, especially women of color and people of color as well, for the Black and Brown community. At the Art Exchange Center to do our interview. Hi guys, my name is Andrea Ward, and welcome to Pain into Power podcast. Today's special guest we have is Jim Alexander, and we are honoring and celebrating him in the honor of Black History Month. Award-winning documentary photographer and participant observer.
Greetings. How y'all doing?
Thank you. And this is I have been looking forward to this interview for quite some time, and thank you for joining us and allowing us to interview in your space. And I did my research on you. I grew up seeing your work everywhere throughout history and history classes and history books.
I was working in a newspaper delivery service, and when Dr. King got assassinated, I was in photography school, at the time. I had met Gordon Parks through his son, Gordon Jr., and I said to Gordon one day, I said, when Dr. King was assassinated, I said, these people here are talking about free at last, free at last. I said, I don't think we're so free. He said to me, well, James, he said, your ass is going to starve. Nobody's going to pay you to just run around shooting whatever it is you want to shoot. I said, no, I'm going to photography school. I am going to get a piece of paper, and I'm going to teach photography, and I'm going to do my documentary work on the side. I'm going to do pictures of us, everyday people, famous, not so famous, old, young, whoever. So that's what I did. 20 years later, after doing all of those things I said I was going to do, and I was teaching photography, and I was here and I was teaching at Clark at the time, and I was photographer in residence at Clark College. And I had an exhibit for the first National Black Arts Festival. It was at the Apex Museum in downtown Atlanta on Auburn Avenue. And Clark co-sponsored it. And this was 20 years later. And it was an exhibit on black music called Blues Legacy, or Duke and Other Legends, one of those two titles. And Gordon had me walk him through the whole exhibit, 60 pictures. And when we finished going through the pictures, he said, well, Jim, he had formerly called me James. He said, well, Jim, you ran around and shot what you wanted to shoot. He remembered what he had said to me 20 years earlier. And that really surprised me and made me feel really good to have a compliment from him. And that's what I've been doing since then.
That is amazing, and that is absolutely inspiring, because initially, when we want to pursue dreams, like we haven't gone down that road before, you usually get someone to say you're not going to make money doing X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. But it's about the passion and the vision you have behind it. And sometimes we possess these gifts that we don't even know that we have until we try and do it. You never know what you're capable of until you do it. So I love that, and it's definitely powerful and it is inspiring. And to see how far you've come.
I've never looked at a scene or a picture that I wanted to shoot or whatever with the idea about where I could sell it or not. You know, that has never been my desire, to make money selling my photographs. Although that is what I needed to do a lot of times, you know, trying to raise a family and all of that. But I made it work. I did some of everything, you know, like weddings, fashion stuff. I shot for Ebony Fashion Fair for a while, you know. Once a year, they came to Atlanta once a year, and I always shot their fashion shows and things of that sort. I've been able to make a go of it.
I love that. I love that. So tell me, growing up, who were the people or experiences that shaped your eye for storytelling, the art of it?
I looked at a lot of photographs, which I think all photographers who have a desire to be in the field, they have to look at, see what's out there. One time to visit James Van Der Zee, and he had a studio in Harlem. I used to go back and forth to Harlem a lot from New Jersey, shoot pictures in the streets in Harlem. I liked doing that. And when I looked at what he was doing, I said, well, I'm never going to be an artist like that, you know, because he was able to do things with photographs that was amazing. And I looked at Life magazine when Gordon Parks was shooting, you know, for Life. And I would sometimes go to an exhibit or something of that sort. But I like looking at pictures, right? But I didn't have specific people or places, you know. I would go to the Studio Museum sometimes. My first major exhibit was at the Studio Museum. Ed Spriggs curated an exhibit of my jazz photographs. He was the director at the Studio Museum at that time. I think that was in probably 1974, I think. But I just did what I wanted to do, right? And I went to New York Institute of Photography on the GI Bill. And that was along the lines of wanting to teach photography to young black people.
A powerful desire. Because it's not many of us in spaces where we're taught certain skills to be successful, because like during that time, if I'm not mistaken, like there wasn't many of us in a lot of spaces, a lot of powerful spaces, or to be in a room full of powerful people, or to be positioned. So that takes a lot of tremendous courage. It takes a lot of vision to want to teach people, especially people of color, and show them, like, you know, this is how to be a photographer, this is how to get into certain spaces, and to also be like a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. And I admire that. Like that makes my heart really warm, because growing up in Baltimore, you know the history of Baltimore. It's a lot of crime, you know, it's a lot of people of color. The schools are terrible, and there's not much hope there. I mean, there is a little bit, but there's not a lot of people willing to give back to the community and to teach people of color, especially young kids, like troubled youth. So I admire that you did that, and that's really powerful, and that speaks a lot about you as a person. Like your life itself has a lot of purpose. It has wisdom. It has experience. It has so much. It's so much to learn from you. It's so much to unpack. And again, like, I'm excited to even be here with you. I do have another question. So how did you develop your unique skill, or I'll say style? How did you develop that style? And what did you think what are your thoughts when people looked at your work?
My wife, Louise, who passed in 16, when somebody would call for me or come by the house for looking for me or something of that sort, she said, well, Jim is out running and shooting. That's what she used to call it. That's what I used to do. I would be running and shooting. Anything for it to go, I'd go and shoot. And a lot of times I would be able to con somebody into giving me a press pass or something of that sort. I was pretty good at that. I've even had an occasion to make my own press pass to get into events and things of that sort. If it was something I wanted to shoot, I found a way to get there and document it. One thing, I haven't been the best person at detail. In other words, of really putting information down about pictures, times, places, and things of that sort. I would just shoot. Sometimes I would shoot things, and it might be a month later before I ever developed or printed anything from it, even a contact sheet. And by that time, I've forgotten when and where. So now it's a good thing that they have face detection, because they have Emory University that has my collection now. They are digitizing. They just got a grant to digitize all of my work, and it's going to take them 3 years to do it. And they got a grant to do that, and they're working on it. So as a matter of fact, people are still constantly, because of the media that has been doing a lot of things on me since I turned 90 years old. There's folks like yourself who've been contacting me or Emory, or me and Emory, go in and look at my work, and they have shut the site down. It's not available from now until 2028. They're not, no one can go into my collection at Emory. Of course, they can still contact me at my gallery and studio, because I'm here and I have work available and so on and so forth. But I guess that's how they're going to be able to get what they have to complete.
I love that. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And that's such big news. It really is. Your work is very important.
T. Martin, John Lewis, all of them. I shot all of those people, throughout the years, over a long period of time. But I never actually shot Dr. King.
How was it shooting his father?
Very interesting. He was a very interesting man too, And that he passed, he was still out there, being active. But in terms of my other love, black music, all right? The first photograph that I shot of a black musician was Al Green. I'm talking about of a known musician. There was a concert in New Jersey in 1968. I decided I was going to go and shoot a picture of Al Green. I said I was wondering how I was going to get to do it, but I managed. It was in New Jersey, and I went and I was able to get some pretty good pictures of him because I just walked around with my two cameras like I knew what I was doing. And people just, because I had these two Nikon cameras, you know, they let me just go on and shoot. So I was able to get down in front and shoot. And then I had access later on, since I was working with a program at Yale. That's where they established the Duke Ellington Fellowship. So I had access to the programs and things that they did there. Willie Ruff, who was a musician as well as a professor at Yale, he was born in the same place that W.C. Handy was. And so he used to tell me about W.C. Handy and what he was doing, you know, traveling the South and documenting music. And so in 1974, when they celebrated what would have been W.C. Handy's 100th birthday, they were celebrating his birthday in different cities. New Orleans, different places in Mississippi, Alabama, and so I went to those cities I traveled to all of those different cities for a week. I even got to document some of W.C. Handy's family members because they came to where his home was in Tuscaloosa. I think it's Tuscaloosa, Alabama, I think. The house that W.C. Handy was born in, this organization took the house apart, board by board, and they moved it out closer to the highway, put it back together, and added another section to the house, and they named it the Handy Museum. And on W.C. Handy's birthday, some of the family members, his second wife, his brother Charles, and his wife, and W.C. Handy's nephew, who was very close to him, all of them came there, and I documented pictures of them. And then I went to Memphis, I think it was Memphis, yeah, where they built a park there, the Handy Park, and put a statue of W.C. Handy up there, and I shot pictures of there and the celebration. And then I went to New Orleans, documented the celebration that they had there, and Muscle Shoals. So I enjoyed it.
I love that. I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you've shot in a lot of people, a lot of historic moments, important moments, big moments. Now, has there been anyone else you've always wanted to shoot, but you haven't had a chance to take a photo of them? I'm curious.
Yes. I really can't think of any particular person that I wanted to shoot and didn't get to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? People who I thought I wanted to shoot pictures of, I got pictures to shoot them. There were a lot of the musicians, particularly jazz musicians, and because I have a friend who, Larry Ridley, who established the African American Jazz Caucus, and he had me join his organization, and so through that organization I was able to be involved with the International Association for Jazz Education, and all of the major jazz musicians came to events. You know, they had an annual, or they still do have an annual program where they give grants to jazz musicians, all right, and each year I was able to go there and shoot, you know, pictures of those people, you know.
So, I do have another question. What was the most unforgettable moment you captured during the human rights movement?
Well, for me, I guess was when Kwame Ture passed. You know, we lost a lot of people during that period, you know, which right now, and so there's, you know, a lot of gaps in our movement, all right, now, as we're losing people. Although there are some people coming along now who are struggling to keep, you know, the fight going, because we're in a fight, all right? And anytime you think that you no longer have to fight, you're going to be in big trouble.
I do have another question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the current administration running this country, and with all the dismantling of different programs, especially that affects people of color, the Black and brown community? How do you
Proper leadership now, and, you know, I'm talking about at the top. This imposter who is masquerading as a president, all right, is setting us back as a nation, all right? And so we have to make sure that we use the only means that we have for survival. The so-called election. We have to make sure that this generation gets out there and votes, you know, but they have to do twice as much, you know, as anyone else in order to get a semblance of leadership in that we can do what we have to do.
That is a good answer. And I couldn't agree with you even more. Just me being 34 and seeing all this stuff and how this country is unfolding and all the different changes within these last couple of years has been really saddening and disheartening because it is affecting us as a country. It is affecting everything that we do. It is affecting not only the black and brown lives, but everyone as a whole, even women, you know, having some of our rights removed or not even recognized in the eye of the law or in the eye of this country or who, like the president that we do have in office, you know, because it's setting us back. And me being from, you know, my generation and seeing everything now unfold versus like what you've seen from your generation, you guys like paved the way for so many different things and for us to have our rights, to be able to vote, to be able to work, to be able to have all these different opportunities. It is setting us back, and it's just like we don't have the right leadership, and then there is a lot of gaps in between the leaders that we need for our community in order to continue to fight for our rights and to push everything moving forward. Because like not only with that too, like just with like the police brutality rates and the racism and the segregation and, you know, the modern day lynchings, you know, like it's just like history is repeating itself in different ways and different shapes and forms. And it's just like, where do we go from here? What can we do next, you know, as a whole, as a country, for our community, for our people?
We have to make sure that we raise our kids to understand that they have a job to do, and that they need to do it if they're going to have any kind of benefits and a decent life, all right? And go to school. I mean, you're going to need that too, you know. Those types of things. I saw something on TV the other day where somebody who is basically a known person who said that they don't need, he didn't need education, all right? All he needs to do is make money, all right? He said he didn't need education, all right? And, you know, if you get out there and make money, it's going to soon be gone. Somebody's going to just take it from you. Because if you don't know what to do with it, and you can't run a business or something of that sort, you know, to manage and hold on to your money, what good is the money going to do you? All right? So that's important too. You need an education, all right? For somebody who considers himself a professional and say he doesn't need an education, you know, he actually said he didn't need to know how to read. He just needed to know how to make money, you know. Oh, Lord. That's craziness.
Knowledge is key in power. You know, there's a lot of power in having a certain capability and skill set to be able to read and write and to learn other things. It goes a long way. Money comes and goes, and you could easily make money. Social media, you could easily make money, but you can also easily lose money if you're not responsible with your money. So
Yeah.
I feel like with that, I feel like having that sort of mindset is very ignorant because knowledge can take you so much further. Because, you know, there could be a person that has all the money in the world. Doesn't necessarily make them happy, and it doesn't necessarily make them educated with the knowledge because they don't have it, but they have the money. But if you have the skills and the knowledge and the mindset, you can never be broke. Was there ever a moment when you realized history is happening right now in front of your eyes?
Always, every day, all right? Whenever I'm hearing something or reading something or something, I know it has something to do with future, okay? And awareness of your past makes you better able and capable of dealing with your future, as long as you know and understand that it's your responsibility to make sure that you're prepared. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. And another question that I do have, in the mindset of the protests, the transformations, how were you able to keep yourself spiritually grounded?
Well, looking back on my family and my mom, my dad, other relatives and everything, you had to understand that there is some kind of higher power that you have to sort of plow yourself into to uh, to do what you need to do for your survival. Right? I mean, um, you you just can't think that you're great, on your own. It's going to take more than that.
I love that. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. And how do you decide when to shoot and when to simply observe?
When I look at a scene, or if it's something that I feel I want to shoot, I just shoot. You know, I, if it's mostly through the years when I was heavily into documentary, um, I was there to shoot. Okay, my thought was, if I don't capture it, who will? All right, or it may not be captured. So that's always been my feeling. So if it's something that's relevant by, for, and of and about people of African descent, I shot it. That's it.
I love that. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. That makes me really happy. You've captured a lot of beautiful moments in history.
Mm-hmm.
Just growing up, just seeing your work,
Mm-hmm.
it's remarkable and inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
So another question that I do have too is, you've captured everything from historical moments to music. What responsibility do you believe photographers have when capturing a community's truth?
To put some energy into uh, learning history, what history is all about, and having some knowledge and forethought about this life that they're living and what their role is. Everybody has a role. And if you have a means of making it better for somebody else as well as yourself, then you need to have the forethought to do that.
The history and knowing it and paying
Yeah.
it forward.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of beauty within that, because it's almost as if you're carrying the torch moving forward, like you're in a race,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to pass the torch to someone else to get to the finish line.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. So I know you have like a lot of images in your head, like you've taken a lot of images. So even when you put the camera away and you have your images in your head, how do you feel after you've captured so many beautiful moments? How does that make you feel as a person, the person that's behind the art, that's behind the energy of it, behind the most important moments in history?
Well, I think that I'm fortunate, and then a lot of times a lot of people who are making history are fortunate to be here to do it, all right? And having a desire to do it. So that's real. But, have like, we're sitting here now, you having the forethought that I need to be documented in some way, all right? And I feel fortunate that I'm being the subject of some of your documentation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done a lot in history. Like you've done a lot. Like you have no idea what you've done for the people of color. You have no idea what
Mm-hmm.
you've done for this community. And I'm so
Mm-hmm.
passionate about it because you've done a lot and your work speaks volumes, and it's continuing to pave the way for the up and coming generation and inspiring photographers too. So that way they will also make history as well and change.
That's interesting. I'm just getting to the point now where I'm realizing that. Um, I have people say to me, "Do you know who you are?" uh, I was at a restaurant somewhere um, a while back, and somebody said that to me. They recognized me because there's been a lot of media around me. I'm thinking mostly it's not been about my life. It's been about my 90th birthday, I think, And somebody recognized me from being in the paper last week, and somebody asked, could they take a picture with me? And I was wondering, take a picture with me? Yeah, and the person who was with them said, do you know who you are? And I had to laugh, So I have fun when I talk to Angela about that, things that people say to me along those lines. Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are changing lives and making a difference every day. Each
Okay.
photo, with each photo has a story behind it, and each
Mm-hmm.
time there is a story, it's everywhere. It's in history books, it's in magazines, it's on
Mm-hmm.
TV, it's in film.
Imam Alameen and Kwame Ture, who were both members of SNCC back in the 60s. And Kwame Ture had cancer at this time when I took this picture. And he went to several cities, what was dubbed a farewell tour because he was terminal. And then this brother here, who was originally called at that time, when he was Kwame Ture, he was Rap Brown, H. Rap Brown, and he came to that particular event. This photograph is in the Smithsonian. Okay. All right. In an exhibit that they toured called but it was about the life of Duke Ellington. Right. This is one of my more popular photographs. It's called, this particular photograph is called Sister Love. That was photographed at Dr. Janetta Cole's inauguration as the president of Spelman College in 1988. These are all black women writers who came to that program, the inauguration, and they presented to her some of their writings and poems and so on and so forth. That, that was at Duke Ellington's funeral in 1974 in New York. If you look at the perspective of the picture, I had climbed up a pole so I could get a particular photograph of the scene out in front of the church when they were bringing him out. Okay, there's a whole series there that I shot. Okay, took this photograph of me. He won some kind of award not too long ago. One of my many photographs of Maynard Jackson. I shot this one in 1978 in his office at City Hall in Atlanta. All right. Maynard was the one that brought me to Atlanta in '76.
Why was that?
Huh?
Why was that?
I met him at an event in Washington, D.C., and he asked what I did. I said, well, I manage a black arts organization that I started, and I was teaching photography and managing the black arts organization. He said, well, I just started a community arts organization in Atlanta, and we need people who can teach skills in the arts. You need to come to Atlanta. It wasn't a request, it was an order. Okay. This is another one of my photographs of Maynard Jackson and his wife and Sammy Davis Jr. They were presenting him with a book called Atlanta, a celebration. And I don't know exactly who produced the book, but I think it was produced by the Office of Cultural Affairs and the City of Atlanta. And they presented that to Sammy Davis at that point. Mm-hmm. This is a photograph of Nelson Mandela when he came to Atlanta in 1990. This was taken at Morehouse, and all of the Atlanta University HBCU presidents were there. It was the Jacksons at that same event where you saw him with Sammy Davis Jr. That was in 1981 when the Jacksons came.
Anything else over here that catches your eye?
This photograph here. These are the artists and administrators at the Neighborhood Arts Center. That's where I was the photographer in residence, and it was the organization that Maynard Jackson started, and it was a great program. That part of, if you look at a lot of what happens in the arts in the black community in Atlanta, originated in this place. Matter of fact, the people who started this building we're in here were also artists in residence at that Neighborhood Arts Center there, back in the 70s. Was photographed in Cumming, Georgia, when Jose Williams had a march up there in Cumming because of the things that the Klan was doing. And they threw rocks and everything at them, and they left town. They ran them out of Cumming. So when Jose came back to Atlanta, a bunch of the people said, well, look, we're going back up there. And so we went up there about 20,000 strong, went back to Cummings. And this is a picture here. I took this one, and if you see that the police officers were supposed to be there to protect the marchers and rally people, you see who they're protecting. You had the city police, GBI, other police officers all around, but they were protecting the Klan, who came out with a counter rally against the people who came to protest what was going on in Cumming. And so it had snowed the day before in Atlanta, and Atlanta and Georgia. And if you see the snow here, that was in 1987. This picture here was, I took this during the George Floyd event, okay? In that period, different people were putting a lot of different tributes out in terms of, you know, our struggle. And then this was taken down at the King Center in about 40 years earlier, all right? Okay. This one also was an important picture that was taken, you know, and it was really, really important. And the reasoning for us still having the struggle and the importance of it.
All right, so what advice would you give to young photographers who want to capture truth and not trend?
Truth? Mm-hmm. Well, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to know what your truth is. And if you are aware and knowledgeable about what your truth is, then you're going to be honest with what you capture, what you do, okay? And, you know, don't get caught up in games, you know. Deal with truth, all right? That's important, to know what truth is, right? Mm-hmm.
I love that. That is such a beautiful answer, and knowing who you are is such a key, important thing, a part of it. So what hope do you have for people within the next 50 to 100 years from now when they look at your work? What hope do you have when people look at your work from now?
Well, I would like people to think that I tried to do something of some value, all right, and that I wasn't just trying to make money, you know, and that I was trying to do something that people can use to in their future, all right, and then the history that is ongoing, you know, because that's real. There's going to be enough stuff out there that is just stuff. That is not something that that's worthy of generations. Mm-hmm.
That is a beautiful answer. I love that. I love that. What is one thing people ever misunderstood about you or your work, if that's ever happened?
Well, like I said, I had several lifetimes. I had a life in the street going back years, 50 years ago. And most people who knew me back then, who are still around, some family members and some stuff, are very proud of what I've done, all right? Just like there are some people who don't believe it's the same Jim Alexander, all right? Or James Alexander, you know, that is sitting here talking to you, all right?
Wow. It's only one Jim Alexander, and that is you. You have made history. What is one thing that your camera, if your camera could talk, what's one thing that you think your camera would say about your life?
It would say why, it would ask why I was doing what I was doing, and looking at the images and so on and so forth, it would be looking at what the historical significance of it was. And it would be telling a story for our future and our offspring, okay? So that would be some of the important aspects of that, okay?
Well, I do have another question.
Okay.
So what is your philosophy on documenting Black culture and Black stories?
We have to tell our story, all right? It's very important that we tell our story. It's been so much about our story going back to the millennium that hasn't been told by us. And so we also need the images, okay, of our traverse through whatever this mess is we're in here, okay? So that's really, really important, okay? And so I just thought that nobody could capture it like me.
And you captured it beautifully. And I
All right.
love your statement for that.
Okay.
Just what you've done for Black culture and the history itself speaks volumes, more than you know and understand.
It's very important.
So tell us more about this photo that you've taken.
This was in 1978 at the Neighborhood Arts Center. Dr. Michael Lomax brought Romare Bearden to the Arts Center to, and Romare and Mrs. Bearden visited all of the studios and talked to the artists individually. And I documented that whole visit. And as a matter of fact, I put a little booklet together of that visit and an exhibit of that visit in 1978. Yeah. We were very happy that he chose to come and talk to us.
Wow, so much history behind
Okay.
what you've done. And I just want to say that we appreciate you here at Pain into Power Podcast. And in honor of this episode, we are celebrating you, your accomplishments, the things you've accomplished in history and life itself. So stay tuned, and I will catch you guys next time. I'm super excited to drop this episode. See you until next time. Hosted by yours truly, Andrea Ward.